The challenges was in 2001 when I decided to leave Jamo Jam and pursue my solo career. That was pretty hard, and it was challenging because there were rumours.
Toyoti Lapi Mariner, a name that resonates with soulful music and timeless artistry. For decades, Lapi's powerful voice has inspired audiences worldwide, making him a true icon in the music industry. Lapi shares the treasures of Samoan heritage, empowering young people to embrace their identity and discover their greatness. We explore Lapi's incredible journey of resilience, discover the man behind the music, and his mission to inspire hope through song and service. Welcome! How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yes, thank you for having me on here.
Oh, thank you for taking the time out to come on down and join us to share your story about resilience. So one of our key focuses of this podcast is resilience.
Right.
And what we want to hear, because most people know you as Lapi Mariner, the icon, the musician, the entertainer, the singer-songwriter. But this podcast is dedicated to wanting to peel all the accolades, take away the title, to discover who Lapi is, the person. That is who we want to hear. The challenges, the struggles, the resilience actions, and then the breakthrough, which I call the Chandelier moments. So give us a little bit, before we do go there, give us a little bit about your background, what molded you to get you to where you are today.
Sure. I was born in West Auckland, Te Aratu North. Both parents, mum is Samoan Tongan descent, and dad is Samoan Rotuma.
Yes.
There's 9 of us,
Hi.
7 girls, 2 boys, and we all attended a Presbyterian church in Te Aratu South called St. Giles. So, you know, I was I was born and raised, you know, in the church. We had, you know, we had our family devotions, so there was a lot of singing.
Yes.
There was a lot of singing in the house.
Yes.
And yeah, growing up, you know, obviously I had my favorite genres of music, but music didn't really come on board for me, and I didn't really take it seriously until I got to my teenage years. So as a young boy, all I wanted to do was play rugby league. That's it.
True.
That's all I wanted to do.
So music wasn't the...
No, music wasn't there. Although there was singing, you know, at church, you know, and lokamiki, you know, and but you know, that was, I never really you know, thought about it seriously. And it was just to play rugby league.
Oh, true.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. And when I was young, you know, the NRL that they call today, the Telstra, you know, Premiership, was back then called the Winfield Cup.
Yep.
And so that's what, you know, we used to watch as young boys. And, you know, we used to have our old league club, Te Aratu Roosters, which is still there today. And, you know, we played for that club there. And a lot of boys that come out of that club did go on to international level and also playing, you know, in the Winfield Cup, as well as playing in the UK as well. But like I said, you know, once I got to my teenage years in high school, I was attending my Takere College, and that's where the music started for me.
The passion and the desire to want to go.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Like, it started where?
So I was probably 3rd form. I think they call it year 9 now.
Yeah.
I was in the 3rd form, and you know, I always knew that I could sing. And you know, at the time there was a choir at the school, and you know, I remember who the music teachers were and the choir masters were, and so I just built up enough courage as a year 9 to go and ask, you know, I heard there's a choir. You know, I'd love to be part of it. How do I get in? And then he took me into one of the music studios, and he was playing scales. He goes, just repeat after me. You know, the la 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 la.
Yeah.
And then he kept going up a key and stuff like that. And then after that, he just said, we have rehearsals every Thursday night from 6 to 9, and so that was it. From there, I got involved with school shows,
Yeah.
productions and stuff like that. So from there, I kind of had a real love. I started, to have that love for music and being on stage, being part of the school shows, and that's thanks to being part of White Sunday. I didn't have that fear of performing in front of people. And I remember my mum used to always say to me, son, if you can't sing in front of me, then there's no way you can sing in front of anyone else. And so, I used to always sing with mum. I think mum had the voice. Out of the two parents, and but none of my sisters can sing. Gosh, sad, very sad.
Yeah.
So it was just, I guess it was me and my younger brother.
Yes.
That got the genes for the singing, and my poor 7 sisters. None of them.
No.
Yeah.
Did you know that your love for music at that time was going to lead you to where you are now? Did you anticipate that? Did you plan that? Or it was just roll with the flow without a plan to become as big as you are now?
Yeah, it wasn't until I was 16, because that's when Jamal Jam started.
Right, yeah.
And I was still in school. I was the only one that was still in school, and all the rest of the boys were all, they were all working. So, it was just, I remember, getting that call and being asked to, come along to a practice or rehearsal.
Yeah.
And so I went along, and, Sam Tuunga, he was the producer of Jamal Jam.
Yes.
I knew him and his wife, very close with them, and so, that's how it all started. He found out that I was, heavily involved with choirs and singing at school and stuff, and so, he decided to give me a go, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was Jamal Jam. Started back in 1993. The beauty of the group was because, the beauty of Jamal Jam was you had 2 guys from South Auckland and 2 guys from West Auckland.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever been a group like that, especially in Auckland.
Yes.
Because you were either from West, or you were from South or Central, but never, has been a group where you've had 2 guys from the opposites cities in Auckland. So regions in Auckland. So that's how it all came about. And then, we were invited to sing, in nightclubs, where we would do a lot of R&B covers. And remember, I was only 16.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I was only 16 years old, and I guess we could get away with it back then.
Yeah.
And there were no photo IDs. It was just a piece of paper, and anyone could grab that driver's license and say, "Oh, this is me," kind of thing. But I was fortunate to to go clubbing at a very young age and see that, that kind of and be exposed to all of that stuff. And so I remember bumping into my sisters and all their friends, or not my sisters, but their friends. And they'll be like, this little boy, turning up to, but we were gigging there and all of that stuff, and it was fun. It was fun for me as a 16-year-old. But from there we it went on by being invited to sing on a show, and it was a talent show that was on national TV in New Zealand, and that was pretty much where it kind of sparked off for us, and we were getting a lot of exposure on that talent show. It was called Showcase. And I was done at Avalon Studios in Wellington. And we done really well in that competition, and we had Sir Howard Morrison, the late Sir Howard Morrison, who was one of the judges, and from there he really loved our 4-part harmony that he wanted us to tour with him. And so Sir Howard, he's a New Zealand icon, and a legend as well, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been invited or exposed to things like Christmas in the Park, which is one of the biggest biggest gigs in Auckland, you know, big sponsors like Coca-Cola that are the main sponsors for, and so we knew, like, you know, once we were touring with Sir Howard Morrison, it was a big deal,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
especially back then in the 90s. So yeah, and then it kind of just we got more and more exposure, and
Yeah.
and so a lot of people in Auckland and you know parts of New Zealand knew who Jamal Jam was, you know. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, so that's the timeline, hey? That's the timeline. From there, as a 16-year-old, did it impact you? Like, you know, as a 16-year-old, you know, teenagers go through those phases, psychologically, mentally. You know, were you made to grow up quickly? Were your parents happy with that journey at that age?
Well, I never really told my parents, you know. I never really
How was
shared
that?
with them. Well, because I was pretty much raised by my 7 sisters, so they knew, and because
Right.
mum and dad were always working, you know. So you know, all they knew was I was at school and I was
Yeah.
and that I was singing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but not knowing that I was singing in nightclubs, you know. And and I remember, it was
Some funny
hard days.
stories.
Oh, yeah. But to answer your question, yeah, I had to grow up really fast,
Yeah.
and that's why I was thankful to the boys in Jamal Jam, because the other 3 were a lot older than I was, and so, you know, I had to I had to, you know, I had to be at the same level as them and
Level.
at their age,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so I matured quite fast, and
yeah,
yeah, and thankful to my sisters, you know,
yeah.
who are a lot older than me as well, and so I was always, you know, I guess I was always blessed to be around like a lot of older people and people with positive influence as well,
Yeah,
and not the, you know, the Ulavale ones, but yeah, no, definitely had to grow up fast, and so yeah, very very grateful to the boys, for that. So yeah,
Do you feel as if you missed out on the teenage life?
uh,
When you reflect upon the journey, do you think, oh, you know, watching all these 16-year-olds doing the 16-year-old thing,
true,
you didn't experience that, you went from 16 to 24, you know,
yeah,
type of thing. There's a gap there. Did you feel like you missed out?
no,
No?
no, I
Oh,
didn't.
no, you enjoyed it?
I did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did. Yeah, I'll be honest. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing my friends not being able to come into the
Yeah,
nightclubs, and
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
standing in the, you
Yeah,
know, in
yeah,
the door
yeah.
going, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, jokingly, but no, I didn't. I don't think
Yeah.
I never really missed being a teenager,
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know. So
Yes.
yeah, I did. I matured
Very quickly.
very very quickly.
Did fame come really quickly for you as well?
You know, my sisters who played a real huge part in my life and keeping me grounded.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
was really important.
Yeah.
And I had to. I couldn't let it get to my head, or else, you know, I would have probably got dealt to by my sisters.
Yes. Yes.
So it was good having that, you know, having them always, you know, watching over me and just, you know, directing me in that positive path, or that path where, you know, where I'm not going to be caught up in the
Yeah.
in the fame and stuff like that, because you know, especially at 16 and,
Yeah.
you know, being exposed to it all, it can be quite, you know, frightening for a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, because I had the boys there, and you know, I learned to just chill and just it was like a wave, you know, and you just ride the wave, just
Yes.
go along with the journey, learn how to journey, and yeah. So no, I didn't get caught up in that stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even to this day,
Really?
you don't get caught up in any of that stuff.
Okay. So you didn't encounter any challenges along the way, dark moments where you felt like, was there ever a time during the journey that you thought, oh no, I can't keep going, I need to stop, you know?
Yeah, I never had the, you know, I didn't want to stop. I never had that. Never. I guess I wouldn't say dark time.
Well, what were the challenges?
Yeah,
Did you
the
face any
challenges.
challenges?
I remember the challenges was in 2001 when I decided to leave Jamal Jam and pursue my solo career.
Yeah.
and that was pretty hard, and it was challenging because there were rumours.
Right.
You know, people were saying all sorts of things like, "Oh, he left because of this," and
Yes, yes,
"He
yes.
left because of that." And I
Yeah.
said, "Well, no, I left because before I was in Jam or Jam, I always knew that I was going to have a solo career or pursue a solo career."
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just all the rumours that were going around, and then, you know, praise God, there was no such thing as social media back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, it probably would have, I don't know. Yeah, so, but yeah, no, that's probably the only challenging time,
Really?
you know.
Okay, so because you're on the road constantly, did it affect your role as a dad or as a husband? Was
Yeah,
the house, it did. Talk us
it
through
did.
that.
Yeah, I remember being away for a long time, and then, you know, and then coming home, I think probably after you know, a month and a half on tour,
Yeah,
and then coming home, and, you know, my daughter,
yeah,
you know, she was probably around, I don't know, 5 or 6,
yeah.
and she answers the telephone, and it's for me, and then instead of calling Dad, the
Yeah,
phone's
yeah,
for
yeah,
you, and
yeah.
she calls me by my first name.
Oh,
You know,
true. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's, yeah, that was when it was okay, time management.
Yes.
And so I was, like I said, you know, very fortunate, very blessed that I was matured, and you know, now I'm a dad, I'm a husband,
Yes.
you know, and so okay, cool. Now we've got to start making better decisions. So, you know, I wasn't just saying yes to any gig.
Yes, yes.
You know, there came a time now, and I guess that's the beauty of being a soloist, is
Yeah.
you just say yes to, you know, choose, pick and
Choose
choose
what
your
you,
gigs.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
That will work around your family.
yeah.
Did you find that that was a challenging moment when you felt, oh, look, you know, it doesn't feel good to be called by name by your own child?
Oh yeah, that hit me.
Yeah,
That hit me
yeah,
big time. You know, and you know, I still get emotional when I think about it and
yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, that I knew right then and there that, you know, I had to make a very quick decision, and
Decision.
okay, let's have a look at the calendar, and I've got to do it. You know, plan it out more smartly,
Yeah,
and 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 that, because I was just saying yes to anything.
yes.
You know, it
Why?
didn't bother me
Why were
because
you?
I think for me, you know, I loved being on the stage.
Yeah,
I loved that I could entertain people. I loved that I could make people laugh.
yeah.
I loved that, you know, I could soothe the soul, you know,
Yes,
their souls,
yes.
and you know, I loved that, you know, people have come with, you know, being in that dark place, and then being able to deliver a performance, and that they've gone away and then come up to you after the show and said, "Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
really needed to hear that song,
yeah.
and it's done something not only to me, but it was a healing process, and because we don't know what people go through, you know,
Exactly.
that come to watch our shows
Yeah.
or any, you know,
Yes. Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
and that's why, like, you know, back then when I was just doing it because not because of the money. It was
Yeah.
never. That was the one thing. That was never about the money. It was always just because I loved to do it.
Yes.
And so, you know, I just, you know, thank God that I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm always thanking God that, man, I get to do it. And I get to be on stage. I get to share the platform now with so many other, you know, prominent artists,
Yes.
you know, and great artists too,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So, yeah, yeah, that phone call that Samira took,
Yes.
that was the turning
The
point for me.
defining. Yeah. 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 And that's where you pivoted. Is that where your solo career started? After that phone call moment?
Yeah,
It did?
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I honestly thought it was going to be quite difficult to, you know, to start again,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because, you know, I had gone, you know, and done great things with Jam or Jam. We had released the first album, Someone a Soul, and you know, there were some hits on there. There were also some old ones that we remade, you know, thanks to Sam, because, you know, Sam Tuunga was related to the 5 Star. And so we
Ah,
were able
yes.
to just remake some of those
Yeah.
songs. We
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
so lucky,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there were our own originals as well. So you know, there's all of that stuff, and then now coming to the solo career, I was like, you know, I was getting phone calls to now, like, oh, can you sing the anthem?
Yes.
You know, the All Blacks were the first ones to reach out.
Yeah.
Sorry, the New Zealand Rugby League.
Yeah.
This was back in 1999.
Yes.
You know, so I'm still in Jamor Jam, so I haven't really made the move yet, but it was until 2001. But anyway, there was a tri series. There was the Kiwis, Great Britain, and the Kangaroos, and that tri series was hosted in New Zealand.
Nice.
So I was the anthem singer for all of those three teams.
Wow.
It was great.
It was good.
You know, just learning, you know, the Australian anthem, the, you know, God Save the Queen, you know, back then, and then obviously the New Zealand anthem as well. So, you know, great times, and because, you know, like I said right in the beginning, I always wanted to play rugby league.
Yeah.
For you know, and now, you know, I get to sing the anthem and stand, you know,
Watch.
next to some of the, you know, the legends
greats,
and the greats, you know, of the game. So yeah, went from there, and then all of a sudden after that tri series, you know, the All Blacks had taken an interest, and so the first All Black game that I'd ever sung at was in '99. It was against it was the All Blacks playing Scotland,
Nice.
and it was at Eden Park.
Yeah.
And then from then, New Zealand Rugby Union, they decided that they would contract me just to sing all the home games for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And so there was a few before, you know, the Bledisloe Cups and stuff like that. But 2000 will probably be the one that I'll always remember. That was at Stadium Australia, or Homebush, and I first got to sing for the Kiwis there, and the Kiwis played against the Kangaroos, and I'll never forget the game because Kangaroos like absolutely walloped the Kiwis 52-0. I even remember the score. I'll never forget the score.
Yeah.
Not long after that, the All Blacks play.
Nice.
All Blacks play, and against the Wallabies, and you know, again I got the opportunity to sing the anthem there.
Again.
But this time it was at a packed, you know, it was
stadium.
110,000.
Wow.
You know, because the Olympics hadn't started then in Sydney, so. But for them to pack up that stadium, you know, the All Blacks and the Wallabies, Bledisloe, and Jonah Lommel scores the winning try.
Nice.
You know, so yeah, it just went on. You know, the more anthems, then All Blacks playing against Tonga, so then I had to learn the Tongan anthem. All Black played against France, had to learn the French national anthem. And it was good. Like even there was also the same year that, you know, they played Mangu Samoa as well at North Harbour Stadium in Auckland, and so it was good. You know, and a lot of fun. And then from singing those anthems, you know, the Warriors. That's when the New Zealand Warriors came out. And then my good friend that got me to sing the anthems for the '99 Tri Series. He was then now working for the Warriors, and said, "Look, we want to do this ad.
Wow.
We want to shoot this ad." And Liquid Studios, you know, in Auckland, who are pretty, you know, big time, and they want to, they've written a song or a jingle, called "It's a Matter of Faith."
Nice.
And so that blew up. That ad blew up, and, you know, and it was a good time for the Warriors. You know, they were doing really well, and they were winning. They were actually winning.
Wow.
So
that's good.
So there was all of that for the solo career. And then obviously I done my first solo album. And that was produced by Wilmerson Jensen and the late Bene Solomona.
Wow.
And then the more corporate events, that's when we started doing the corporates.
Right.
So, you know, now the presentation changes. You know, we're going from jeans, T-shirt and a cap to
suits.
now we're wearing suits.
You
know, having to look, you know, presentable.
Presentable.
So, But I guess I got the early stages of that was obviously, you know, when you're singing, performing the anthem was, you know, obviously we were wearing suits back then. But last year in Townsville, the first time I ever wore e whaikanga.
Really? Last week?
When the tour played
Oh, last year.
Kangaroos last year
Last
in
year.
Townsville was
Yeah.
the first time I ever
Yeah.
had the Samoan attire. So
Yeah.
it was good.
That's good. That's good. Along the way, your journey, I've gathered from what you've shared, you've met so many people.
Yeah.
You loved to entertain. Did you feel a sense of needing to provide therapy? Was it therapy for the people when you said, oh, they'd come up to me and thank me because, you know, they were going through something in life? Did you feel a sense of, okay, now I've got to service them in that way as well? Not just as an entertainer, not just to sing the anthem, but to also provide that, I don't know, healing?
Yeah.
A form of healing somewhat? Did you feel like you had to,
Yeah,
you had a sense of responsibility to the people?
well, something that I always, that I've learned in my career was always making time for people.
Yeah.
And so, when, doesn't matter how tired you are, or
Yeah.
even if you're in a bad mood, and people are coming up to you wanting to, have a photo or have a
Yeah.
conversation with you.
Yeah.
And, I learned, from, a very well-known businessman in New Zealand that, just making time for people is probably, the best gift that you could give someone.
Yeah.
And so by making time for people, like I said, you don't know what they've come with.
Yeah.
You don't know what they've gone
Gone through. Yeah.
But just having that, making time for them just to sit down and chat about, or answer any questions
Yeah.
that they have. And,
Yeah.
you don't know what it can do, know.
Yeah.
And then you meet up with them like 25 years later. Oh, do you remember when we met
Yeah.
in the airport? You
Yeah.
you made time for us and blah, blah. Well, these are our kids. Remember, here's the
Yeah.
photo that we took
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of the artists that, that I tour with, nowadays, there's always those courageous conversations that we have to have, in private.
Yeah.
And those are good too, because
Yeah.
you're encouraging each other,
Yes.
and you really need that. You really need. There's times when you just need to, submit. To your friends, the close friends that really know you, and these are the ones that you're comfortable sharing anything and everything with.
Yeah.
Too, and it's important that you have those people.
Yes.
In your life.
Yeah.
And since moving here to Australia, and I've only been here 5 years.
Yeah.
But I've I can count 7 great mates.
Wow.
And great brothers that I can turn to, whenever.
Yes.
I can sit down, I can mix kava with them, or have a coffee or
Yeah.
whatever, But these are the 7 that I love doing life with.
Yes.
And if it's fishing, it's fishing.
Yeah.
We're going to go and play pool
Yeah.
at a snooker, then so be it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a safe space, and, we're able to, talk about our dark moments.
Yes. Yep.
And then, okay, well, how am I gonna encourage or uplift my brother, that's going through this stuff.
Yes.
And so, it's always could be inside your car where you're just having that, that, what do you call it? That conversation where, you're able to encourage and be open. Yeah, you're right.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is it just this, because you've spoken about the cover group boys, the Friday night meetings, that's here when you're home.
Yeah.
But when you're on the road, who was that mentor for you? Who was your go-to? Because we've noted that you tour a lot with Fij.
Yeah.
Was he one that you not only aspired to, but turned to?
Yeah. Yeah, because like me and Fij, we've known each other for, almost 30 years.
Yeah, I know.
So that's a long, friendship.
Yeah.
A long relationship that we've had together. And yeah, of course, he's been a great mentor, and it's not necessarily people in the music industry as well. It's people, business people, pastors.
Yes.
That I've connected with and still connected to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fiji, he plays a big part.
Yes.
In terms of music, and and everything else. You know, we can talk about, you know, other things
Yeah.
rather than music.
Just
we can put
music,
music to the
yes.
side
Yeah.
and we can catch up about how we're granddads now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like 25 years ago would be, you know,
Yeah.
just hanging out in Waikiki, and then now
Yeah.
look at us, bro, we're granddads,
Granddads.
and you
Yeah.
know, and so that kind of stuff, and it's good for us.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
we feed off each other,
Yeah.
and so yeah, he's definitely someone that I can,
Turn to.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I also note that you've toured with the Katinas,
yeah,
and your time with them you've shared with me in previous times, how uplifting that was. You want to talk about that?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you know, I've known the boys, you know, and listened to the brothers ever since, you know, my younger years.
Yeah.
And you know, that's how long that they've been in the gospel genre, and now you know, to now being on a cruise ship with them, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with 400 of their cousins,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, on a cruise ship that takes 2,500 guests on the vessel. So from there to doing a lot of the crusades
Yes. Yes.
that they've done in football stadiums and baseball stadiums in
Yeah.
the US,
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of the mega churches in America. But for me, it's I already know what they can do on the stage, but for me, what really drew me to the boys and what I loved and admired about them was what they've done off the stage. And
Which
so
was?
there's a whole, like, you know, with their ministry, it's not just about singing, and it's about feeding the homeless.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's about giving to people who are, you know, back in Samoa and in Kukuila, you know, in
Yeah.
American Samoa. It's about, you know, going out into, you know, some of the, you know, the most poorest countries and experiencing, you know, poverty. You know, like going to places like India, you know, never experience, you know, poverty before, but walking down the streets of Kolkata,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
jumping on the metro trains and even the trains where, you know, they've squeezed, like, you know, probably 10,000 people into one carriage, you know, like that kind of stuff. People hanging off so getting to, you know, all your senses come to life and seeing all of that. And I wasn't able to do that, you know, if I hadn't have met the boys. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I love them dearly, and
Yeah.
to have 5 Samoan brothers living in Nashville, Tennessee,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, it's awesome. And then, you know, they still, you know, they very good, you know,
Yeah.
fluent in the ngangana
What Samoa?
Samoa, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just the way, you know, I remember they would ask me, like, oh, how much do you charge? You know, like, and I said, what? And
To tour with them.
like they would ask me how much I would charge if I was to be asked to share or sing at a church.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I was like, no, I've never really charged. I don't do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only, you know, I only charge when I'm in the secular, but
Yes.
I would never charge.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, I said, well, that's got to change, brother. You know, this is your bread and butter.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, well, it's not really my bread and butter because I've still got a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so here I am working in the Department of Corrections in New Zealand.
Yes.
You know, I'm at Mount Eden Prison, and
Yes.
I'm still doing, you know, this on the side. You
That
know?
is good.
So the boys thought that, you know, this was full-time for me, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was full-time for them, so it was
Yeah,
their bread
yeah.
and butter, hence the reason why they were able to do like 6, you know, concerts in 7 days, 1 day off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
Like back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. You've mentioned your time in the corrections.
Yeah.
Was that the mental health sector as well? Because you worked in mental health, how did you transition from corrections to mental health, or was it the same?
Yeah, I started in intellectual disabilities and mental health as a support worker first. And then I was there for, man, probably about 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, that's when the psych units or the psychiatric wards or the hospitals were coming to a close.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was fortunate to come to the end of that. And then now it was, where they were now moved into, or the transition into residential care.
Yeah. So where and who was your go-to when you experienced that, those challenging moments in that role? Was it the music with Jamal Jam? Was it the katinas? What was a defining moment, that helped you go through and get through your time there at the corrections or mental health?
Yeah, I think just being on the road with the Katinas.
Yeah.
I remember being in Galveston, Texas, and they had been interviewed on a radio station, and I remember the host of the breakfast show asked the brothers, "Oh, what's the secret to their success?"
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, "Oh, okay, what kind of answer they're going to come up with?" And Joe Katina, who's the drummer in the band, he answers, "Oh, the secret to our success is our success in our secret place." And
Which
I just sat there and thought, right, secret place. So basically, he was saying that our success only comes from, being in God's presence,
Nice.
having that time, your own time.
Yeah.
And so these guys, being on the road with them, 6 a.m. without fail, these guys would have devotion at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
at 6 a.m. So
Yeah,
these guys are, they're praying and they're
Yeah.
worshiping, and then they share a verse, scripture, and then 6 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. And it was something that was, that their parents had done for them. And to this day, they still do it.
Yeah. Did
Amazing.
they minister to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, there was that time in my life where I kind of, hardly went to local anymore.
Yeah.
And I had forgot about what my mum and dad had taught me.
Yeah.
Even my mum today, to this day, 82 years old, local,
Yeah.
6
As they
p.m.,
do. As they do. Yeah.
And even earlier than 6 a.m., I can still hear her praying for us. And I guess, it's great that, so many things that I've seen around the world, I knew that, my mum and dad were always praying for,
Yeah.
protection,
Yeah.
hedge of protection around us. And not just me, the rest of the 8 siblings as well,
Yeah.
and our children and our children's children. When I think about all of those things that I'd done, as a solo artist, I kind of forgot that, there was a reason why I got there.
Yeah.
I forgot, I forgot the God factor in my life. I then forgot the my relationship, with Christ.
Yeah.
I forgot the very thing that blessed me was, and me being able to perform at these places was God.
Was him.
That was, and very easily things can go downhill when you disconnect yourself from God. And I learned that, through the boys.
Yes. Yeah.
Then once I'm not in that secret place anymore, or not having that secret time, or that being in His presence,
Yeah.
then things are just gonna
Yeah.
have a downward spiral.
Yeah. And how did you deal with it?
Yeah. Well, then I had to,
Pivot, go
had
back.
to walk, and I had to get back to the 6 a.m.s and the 6 p.m. devotions, and together with my wife, together with our children.
Yeah.
It's just those little small things
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
make the big things happen. And not just with my family, it's with other men, that are going through stuff. And so, yeah.
Yeah. How did you manage to balance being a husband?
That's a
The
good question.
relationship. How did you manage to be the artist, be the big Lapi, and then be the husband? Like, if you were on the road for 6 weeks straight, you'd come home. Was she a stranger? Did it feel like, okay? Did it take a step back in that relationship?
No.
No?
I was very fortunate, to take Jolene with me to all those places that I went to. And there was a time when she got sick of it.
Yeah.
She got sick of the traveling, but
That
I
was my
still had
next
to
question.
say, no. So I'm so blessed that I have a wife that understands and, that's been with me through, you know, the ups and
Yeah,
downs.
yeah, of course.
And now, you know, now that we're grandparents,
I
you
know,
know,
yeah.
that's kind of, yeah, it's almost like we're on our third, fourth, fifth honeymoon now, you
Yeah,
know, with the
yeah.
birth of our
With the birth of,
grandson.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I get it. I get
yeah.
now why my parents were the way they were towards my children and my sister's kids,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
I get it now. And so that's exactly what we're doing to our
Yeah,
grandson, you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but yeah, very, very blessed. Jolene's not, she was never wanting to be in the limelight. You
Yeah,
know, she was
yeah,
always behind the scenes,
yeah.
and always making things, you know, like I could come off stage, you know, and I knew that she would be there and she would have everything ready for me, you know,
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the green room. And so,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we didn't have this kind of
Yeah.
flash stuff. For me, very simple.
Yeah.
Just as long as there was a big bottle of
Yeah,
water,
yeah,
a
yeah.
towel,
Yeah, yeah.
and a can of Coke, you know, that was it.
Nice, nice.
And Jolene would always make sure that all that stuff was, you know,
Yeah.
was ready for me. And, you know, it's good. It's good that you
Yeah.
can be on the road and have that. And so Jolene got to share as well with the Katinas and get to hang out with their wives, you know, and then, you know, ask them the questions. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? So it was great. It was great for the both of us.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah, being just rubbing shoulders with
Yeah,
the Katinas.
yeah, lovely. Your son Dean,
Yeah.
being in the Broncos, you as Lapi, now the father of this up and coming superstar in the NRL footy, talk us through that journey.
Yep.
How you are as a dad, and you know, your advice to him, because he's just up there now. Like, what advice do you give him as a dad?
Every game, you know, I'll either text him or call him, and you know, and just say, look, just have fun, and I love you,
Yeah,
and that's it.
yeah, yeah,
There's nothing else.
yeah,
There's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to do. I think just watching him as a young boy play footy, and you know, just, you know, I was never that father that would yell at him from the sideline. You know, I'm the type of guy that just stands behind the goalpost. You know, and I remember his first game, like I just stood behind the goalpost. I said, "You just run to where Dad is. That's it. Look for where Dad is,
yeah,
and then just run towards
yeah,
me."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had good advice from my brother-in-law, Savia Tama, Ronnie Clark. He said, Don't teach him anything. Don't teach him anything. Let his natural instincts just kick in." And so all I did with my son was because he loved watching WWE, we just wrestled.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all we did.
yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, he was very blessed to grow up with his older cousins, and one of them being, you know, Caleb Clark, who's now playing at the All Blacks now. And so Caleb and his brothers and the other older cousins,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, they would always play footy, and they would, you know, rough him up a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, he would come crying to me, and I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
"Well, you want to play with the big boys."
Yeah,
So, but yeah, he was. It was great, you know, watching my son play from 5, you know, then
Yes.
to the 12,
Yeah,
13, and it was, yeah, he was 13 when he got picked up,
Wow.
where he was scouted by his agent today. And you know, I just remember having that conversation with the agent, and he just said to him, he asked what is, you know, is his preference, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just said to him, well, he's been a Broncos fan ever since he was a kid.
Wow.
And so everything just happened because the day after that conversation, he said, well, I've got the recruitment manager from the Brisbane Broncos coming to New Zealand, coming into Auckland tomorrow.
Wow. So is that what prompted the move?
Yeah. So he was scouted at 13. He met Simon Scanlon, who's the recruitment manager for the Brisbane Broncos.
Yep.
And yeah, he gave the best advice to my son. So my son was playing a grand final. He came the day before the grand final.
Yeah.
And he just said, oh, I would love for you to come to one of our camps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
come to one of our clinics.
Yep.
So I know you've got the grand final tomorrow, and the best advice he gave him was don't do anything different. Just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just do what you've always been doing every Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from there, the Broncos would fly him over.
Yep.
You know, as a 13, 14-year-old, he would come here for like a night,
Yep.
and then fly back the next day, or come here for 2 days, fly back the next day.
Wow.
It wasn't until he turned 16 that the Broncos decided, we'll bring him here and go to school. So he's the reason why we moved, and we've been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
We've watched him play schoolboy footy for 2 years.
Yeah.
Make reps for Malmaninga Cup,
Yes.
Queensland,
Yes.
under 18s,
Yes.
Australian schoolboys,
Yes.
and then up until his debut and then playing Q Cup for Wynnum Manly
Yes.
to his debut in 2022 against the Tigers.
Yes. Yes. And recently to Samoa.
Yeah, so he debuted for the tour.
Nice.
Yeah, we've just encouraged him.
Yeah.
We want him to love the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I was never that dad that would, give him that hard talk. I think of us as parents, we just tell our kids,
Yes.
we love you.
Yep.
That's all they want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And just encourage them, have fun.
Yep. Yep. So you're not worried that his rise
Nah.
to fame might affect him in any way? No.
And I think because he's found a love outside of footy. So he loves to surf, he loves to play golf.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I think the things that are happening with a lot of our a lot of the players today that are getting caught up in drugs, caught up in just silly stuff. But we're just fortunate that our son is he's listened to his
He's whaalongo to
his
dad
parents.
and his parents. Nice.
yeah.
If you could think of a particular moment where you were challenged, and the steps that you took to overcome that challenge, how is it different then to now? Like, how do you see resilience from that experience to now?
Yeah.
Like,
I think moving here 5 years ago wasn't difficult because I just dropped everything once the Broncos put in place a school for our son to attend, and I knew straight away.
yeah,
I said to my son, "You make the decision,
yeah,
and whatever decision you make, we're going to support you." And then I remember he came back 40 minutes later saying, "I want to go." I said, "Cool."
and
Let's
that was
go.
it. Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard for my wife.
I was going to say that
She
was
had
the next question. Was
She had a great job, and
yeah,
for me, it was like, well, I've got nothing to. There's nothing to hold me back.
yeah,
And we got our blessings, from my parents and Jolene's parents, and me and him, we came over first October of 2019,
yeah,
and Jolene came over in January of 2020, and COVID hit. So she came in just before COVID.
yeah,
I think that time during COVID was pretty hard for me.
yeah.
I lost my dad, and I had to watch him take his last breath on FaceTime. And it was probably the hardest, time ever. That I'd ever experienced in my 47 years being on this earth, and just seeing all my my sisters that were at home, and nephews and nieces surrounded his bed, but that was the hardest. That was so hard, just seeing your parent who brought you into this world and taught you everything, and just see him take his last breath, and then it was hard for us going back home. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I remember still trying to process the whole thing, and yet we're on a flight back home to New Zealand, and then we get to Auckland, and then they say, your flight's now going to be diverted to Christchurch because there's no accommodation available in Auckland. So we had to get onto another flight and then take us all the way down to Christchurch. And it's like, oh my gosh, can it get any, worse? And so we're spending 2 weeks in Christchurch, and I guess, going, I had a lot of time to think and to process, what just happened. And I think for me it was just remembering, all the great things that my dad done for me and my siblings, and teaching me about, putting God first,
Yeah.
teaching me about, loving others,
Yeah.
teaching me about giving and
Yeah.
being genuine with your giving,
Yeah. Yeah.
just all of that stuff, and
Yeah.
teaching me the Samoa.
Yeah.
I'm the only sibling, I'm the only child out of the nine of us that can speak Samoan.
Really?
It's shocking, really, and I hope they watch this too, because
Why is that?
well, three of the siblings were born in Samoa, and then they all came over at a very young age, and I guess uh, they had to adapt to the New Zealand way.
Yeah, yeah.
I think their te reo Māori was better than
Te
their
Samoa.
Samoan. The only time that I heard my sisters ever speak Samoan was during White Sunday.
Oh,
you know.
really?
But today, I can't have a laugh to myself,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's why I'm like, when Dad died, I was like, yeah, whawhakai.
Oh,
Thanks, Dad. Yeah,
grateful. Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
were able to have those conversations,
Yeah,
just me and
yeah.
him
Yes.
in Samoan.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, very very grateful to Mum and Dad for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So how did you bring yourself out of that pit, that dark moment? What was the chandelier moment?
That 2 weeks in quarantine,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember getting FaceTimes from the guys and girls, that all the relationships and the friendships that I had made in the music industry, and the Katinas, they would FaceTime and send their condolences. We were able to have Zoom,
Yeah.
chats. Feeds would call,
Yes.
and it was great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I guess my faith kind of really strengthened
Yes.
as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
And during that time I was grieving too,
Yeah, of course.
and I had 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So by the time we would come out of quarantine, and I'd seen my sisters that I hadn't seen in such a long time, seeing my mother, it was like, oh yeah, nah, I'm all good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm fine. I don't have to.
Yeah.
I've done all the crying
Yeah.
for 14 days straight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
but yeah, it was having, all those people, just reach out,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and I was, very blessed to have that support network, and so then, I didn't have to, turn to alcohol. I didn't have to turn to
Yeah.
drugs, and I
Yeah.
didn't have to, like, punch one of the New Zealand police officers that, was being an idiot during
Yeah.
quarantine.
Yeah.
There was all that kind of stuff that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
happening, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah,
Yeah.
thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you that I get to have that quiet time,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I'm able to just
Yeah. That community,
soldier
the
on.
family, the
Yeah,
people, yeah,
yeah,
the friends
yeah.
that helped you get through. If you had to give your 12-year-old self,
12.
yeah, or your young self
Yeah.
advice, what would you say from the beginning of the journey to now? What would you say?
My 12-year-old self.
Sorry, it was the 16-year-old self when you started?
Yeah,
13.
16. 13?
13. Did you say 13?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was year 9
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what would the Lapi today say to the 13-year-old? What advice would you give that 13-year-old?
Don't play rugby league.
Don't play rugby league. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So the Muso Lapi, what would you say? The Lapi now, what would you say to the young Muso Lapi starting out? Jam or Jam and every experience that you went through with that entertainment singer, icon Lapi. What would you say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have said, you should have taken opera
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
There was Josefa Inari, the late Josefa Inari was probably one of the very few Samoans that made Broadway.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, he was part of, Andrew Lloyd Webber shows like Cats, and many other shows like Chess.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was someone that I really looked up to. And there's many others as well. The Yandel sisters,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Jailanga Ayers. These are all the people that we used to see on TV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where Josefa was someone that we saw on stage. And Josefa, he was a baritone, and he was huge in New Zealand opera and as well as Australasia as well. And so he travelled, to all parts of Europe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And because he was the only baritone at the time that was, very, very successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, in Samoa, we have a lot of tenors, but there was very few baritones, and he was the only one at the time. And then in the mid-90s, along came the Jonathan Lemalus from Otago, who was studying law and music,
Yeah.
Now he's somewhere in London,
Yeah.
and he's on his own. He's the
Yes.
only baritone.
Yes.
And now you've got Benson Wilson, who's now a young prominent opera singer, and
Yeah.
his wife who sung the anthem for the last Tour Samoa,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and Isabella Moore.
Yeah.
I think things, maybe been a bit different if I'd entered the opera world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How different? What do you mean by different?
Well, I wouldn't have been nightclubbing at 16
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and singing in bars.
Yeah, yeah.
But, and I had all the right people around me at the time, at school,
Yeah.
who were also involved with New Zealand Opera, and they were my music teachers.
Yeah.
Stephen Nightingale, Lynn John, still remember them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I still keep in touch with a lot of my music teachers today. So
Nice. Good, good.
yeah,
What advice would you give the young youth wanting to enter or who's trying to enter or break into the music industry and is finding very, very hard to break through? What advice would you give them?
they've really got to want it.
Yeah.
Like they've got to go all in and pursue it.
Yeah.
And I guess this generation today, they're very fortunate to have social media.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You see today people have been very famous just over putting up a song,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on YouTube,
Yeah.
and then collecting the hits, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I guess if that's a way of getting out there, then sure, do it.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do it, then do it
it
properly.
Yeah.
Do it properly, and do it with all of your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do it half-hearted. Just
Yeah.
they've got to want it. They've really got to want it, and that's not just in the music industry. That's everything.
Yeah.
You've got to want it.
Yes. Whether the resilience,
Yeah.
master the resilience to get through,
Yeah.
like what you've shared with your
Yeah.
journey, these hard times. What legacy would you like to leave the next generation?
Oh, just want them to know that they've got to believe in themselves, and not go through this identity crisis.
Yeah, yeah,
It'd be great that every Polynesian could speak their own language. I want that for my kids.
Yeah.
That's why we put them through Samoan preschools.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think, New Zealand and I think, parts of Australia as well have that luxury of having aonga amakas, nowadays. And even like, some of the bilingual units that they have in New Zealand, where they're teaching Samoan. And,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but it all starts from home as well.
Yes.
A lot of people say, yeah, ole loko. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Church does play a part.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's really what happens at home.
yeah, yeah.
If it's not in the home, then we're going to lose it.
Yeah,
We don't want to lose it.
yeah, yeah.
We want to make sure that that's what I'd love.
Yeah.
I'd love for my grandson to like stand with the koko in the foyer and say, do it, you know.
Yes.
What are you, langar whakau, you know? So there's things like that,
Yes.
you know. I want him to not go through what I went through, but I want him to like understand and, you know, be fluent.
Yeah. I love that you value your culture because you're quite heavily involved in the community,
Yeah.
Pasifika community, teaching, Samoan songs with groups such as King Siva,
Yeah.
Academy, Vasa. And so I love that you are, community service focused as well.
Yeah.
You know, what made you go into that?
When you get to my age, at 47,
Yeah.
you've got to understand that there's a time where you've got to give back.
Yes.
And so I'm not giving back because, you know, I need to. I'm giving back because, you know, this is what God's instructed me to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's you know, when you hold on to, you know, the blessing, you've got to give the blessing as well, and you've got to make sure that you bless others.
Yes.
You know, so and that's why I love being in the community. If it's not King Siva, then it's Rugby League Samoa Queensland.
Yes.
You know, and I love being a part of that. You know, I love what we do. I love what, you know, the 4 regions around Brisbane and just recently having all of our RLSQ teams, you know, go down to New South Wales and play against New South Wales Samoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's almost like it's a Samoan state of origin. Basically.
Upcoming events. What do you have lined up? So I hear some exciting news about you going to Utah.
Yeah. So next month I leave for Salt Lake City, and the Jets are celebrating 40 years in music. And you know, the Jets, if you don't know the Jets were the first Polynesians to break into the mainstream back in the 80s. And so now they're celebrating 40 years, them and another band called Kapena, who are from Hawaii. So
Who happen to be related to?
so Diva, who's one of the original members of Kapena, his son is Josh Tatofi. Yeah, so great story about, you know, touring with them back in the days, and you know, and these are all the relationships that I'm talking about, you know, and for them to invite me to come and join them, then it's awesome.
For those who are wanting to follow your journey, keep up with the events, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram.
Instagram. So what's your plug or what's your
It's
handle?
Lapi.Mariner
Yep.
on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Facebook got hacked.
Oh, that's good to let everybody know.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're getting crypto ads from me sent to you, it's not me.
Yes, it's not you because
terrible.
there's still a Lapi Mariner on Facebook, but it's not you.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So Instagram only?
Just Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. As a big fan of yours, Lapi Mariner, I wonder whether there might be a tune that you might be able to share with our viewers to put the icing on the cake for this podcast.
Sure. No pressure. No. Olo fawanana e ana tuya te ohe I hae tali atoa if I more
Thank you so much. That was so good. Thank you, Lapi, for sharing the beautiful talent that God has blessed you with. Such a blessing. Thank you.